I guess he deserved to have 2 week apple.
Yeah, just don't eat like us. Okay, okay. Let's just go back now. I mean, we were going to just do the do-up thing over here.
Thank you so much. I'm flattered, and I kind of feel like I ought to stop there. It's going to be all downhill. I realized yesterday morning after I asked these guys to do this that I've never asked any of them for a job reference. So I was hoping I hadn't miscalculated. So the question that everybody asks me is, why do I want to be mayor? And I think back, and probably 5-6 years ago, it wasn't even on my radar. I got our business to a place where it felt like it was a bit of cruising altitude, and I felt like I wanted to get back to my community, so I said, I'm going to join a board or two. I'd like to be on Mountain Trails. I'd like to be on Summit Lands board. And I was already on the HPCA board, and I decided to jump in and get them more involved. And when I look back, it's really been a natural progression. I've always gravitated towards leadership type roles. I think a lot of that was coincidence because I was always a head taller than other kids growing up. So I was always the big guy who got delegated to lead the group. And after school, I went off to get trained as a guide and worked for the National Outdoor Leadership School. And that's where I really learned what leadership was about. It's about listening, it's about encouragement, and it's about team building. And from there, after several years of guiding, I moved into the business world. When I was looking for a more stable background, I discovered that the skills you learn in guiding are very similar to the skills you need to manage small business. So that transitioned well. And then from there, I eventually ended up with my own business. And then I purchased a bunch of real estate at the Treasure Mountain Inn, which was really run down. Had a little bit of an ornery HOA, and decided that if we were ever going to improve our real estate, we needed to get the whole building on board. The problem is there had been 15 years of lawsuits, no one was speaking, and the HOA meetings tended to be about 8 hours long, and we typically had a bailiff there to keep us from strangling each other. I raised my hand and volunteered to preside over that, and 5 years later we finally had peace at the building. We had a renovation plan, and we were able to find enough common ground as an HOA that we were able to move forward. I took those same skills to the HPCA, which is the Downtown Business Alliance. It was a group that had a lot of potential, but was really struggling to get along. And when I was elected president there, I was able to find some common ground. I didn't do it by myself. There was a lot of effort on the group by the board, by Allison Butts and other people, but I felt like I was able to play a key role moving that forward. And while I was working for the HPCA as president, we were having problems with the city. We felt like there was sort of a mutual disdain between the two groups, and we weren't working very well together. I figured the best way to resolve that was to start going to city meetings. So for 2 years, I dutifully showed up every Thursday and sat through every meeting, got to know the mayor and the city councilors, and learned a lot about the inner workings of the city. And elections came along, and they looked at me, one of the few people in the back that wasn't media, and they said, how about coming and sitting in the comfortable seats? So I decided to take a flyer. I wasn't sure what I'd think of government, but I thought it'd be a good way to serve my community. I figured I had a good background under me, and so I ran for city council, and fortunately was elected. I've enjoyed my time on city council. I feel like what we've accomplished is meaningful. When Dana announced his retirement a few months ago, I thought I'd be well suited to the mayor's role, so I decided to throw my hat in. So that's how we got here. So one question that's going to come up during this election, or something I hear a lot, I've started going door to door, and everybody's like, well, geez, you guys are both really nice guys. We like you a lot. How do we decide between two nice guys? I think something to keep in mind, I think my opponent is a very nice guy. He's a friend of mine, and I think I'm a nice guy. I get along with a lot of people in town, but I'm not sure a nice guy is what it's going to take to move this town forward. I think it's going to take some skills. And I think there are a couple things I can bring to this job that are unique. And that is going to be leadership, experience, and enthusiasm. And I'm just going to talk briefly about each of those. From a leadership standpoint, I think I pointed out I started leadership at an early age. And I think I do have a knack for it that goes beyond being tall enough to be seen in a crowd. What I focus on, I'm a collaborator, I'm a problem solver, and I take a can-do approach to things, which I might have picked up from Charlie.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I think I've shown this with my business, with the HPCA, and on council. And council's difficult because it's a group process, so you don't take credit for any individual things. But I think the areas I really have added to the group is I have forced that group to think bigger, to think broader, to think regionally, and I think I've also forced them to be tougher in our discussions. I think in business you learn when you write a contract, a good contract is a tough one for each side. And I've really pushed that among the city is we need to make the right decisions up front because otherwise we're going to come back and regret them later. Experience, I have a nice blend, I believe, of private and public background. I've got 20 years of small business experience, which comes in very handy on council. I've got 2 years of attending meetings, and now I'm on my 2nd year on council. That's all going to come into play in the mayor's role. I will be up to speed on the issues. The issues are complex and they've been evolving, and I think on the first day I'll have a nice head start there, and I'll have relationships with the council, as well as one of the things I've really focused on in my time on council has been regional relationships. I've reached out to the county council, which I'm happy to see a few of you here tonight, and I have reached out to the Salt Lake mayors, UDOT, UTA. Certainly, I recently had the ability to go over to Colorado and meet a variety of the mayors of the Colorado ski towns from Vail and Aspen, Breckenridge, and Crested Butte and discuss what their challenges are. And I think I've also made some friends on the state level, gotten to know a couple of the governor's key staffers, and I think those are all relationships that are important moving forward. Part of why I think that's important is because most of our big challenges going forward are going to be regional. Park City can't be insular and solve our challenges going forward. And lastly, enthusiasm. As Thea mentioned, I tend to run at a high level of energy. I think she would say too high most of the time, but it does come in handy. And when I first moved here, I sold skis and bikes. And I didn't know anything about skis and bikes, but I learned it was really
True enough.
It's true.
Yeah. You knew how to climb.
But what I quickly discovered is it's really easy to sell things you love. And the mayor's role, a lot of it is being cheerleader for your community. In this system, you're out there, you're promoting your town, and I am passionate about Park City. So it's something I feel like I can very easily promote and represent as a Parkite and somebody that lives the lifestyle up here. So I've taken enough of your time, and I'm just going to rattle through a couple of platform things and then go to Q&A. I don't want to go into a lot of depth, but I'm happy to talk to you individually or if there are further questions about these. I think I want to focus on for our community. The big one right now is connectivity. I think we're going to continue to grow and evolve as a community, and there's probably going to be more people here, but I don't think we can handle more cars and keep our small town character. I think cars really are the enemy of community and traffic and congestion. So I want to see us build a town, not that doesn't have cars, but doesn't need cars. And I think we can do that by connecting the resorts, working on that 3-resort interconnect we've talked about, finding ways to connect those resorts back to town, not just Old Town, but Prospector District, Bonanza Park, the base of PCMR. That might be gondolas, might be funiculars, might be a technology we don't even know yet. I think we also need to work on our transit system. We need to expand it. And I'm very excited to be working as part of the Wasatch Summit Group, which is working on bringing transportation up from the airport in Salt Lake. That will likely be light rail, although we haven't decided on a particular mode. But that's an ambitious project. It's going to take perhaps 6, 8, 10 years to get done, but I think it'll be very worthwhile if we can ultimately accomplish it. So other areas I focused on are regional collaboration for reasons I stated earlier. I think our challenges nowadays, they're complex and regional, and we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to be able to work with the county council. We're going to have to be able to work with Salt Lake, and we're going to have to really reach out to Wasatch. Wasatch is going to be one of our biggest challenges. That's where the growth pressures are going to come from, and they're big. Last thing's open space has certainly been a passion of mine. I'm going to continue to push that, and sustainability for our town. I think it's important that we walk the walk the talk here. We've really said we're a sustainable community, we're worried about the environment, we need to continue to escalate. We need to find ways not only for the municipal facilities to be more green, but we also need to encourage our community to have smaller footprints. And on that note, the final item is economic diversity. I mentioned earlier I was recently in Colorado at a Colorado area ski town conference. They are very focused on their lengthening summers and their shortening winters. Politics aside, why you believe there's global warming, it seems like there's a trend coming. And as ski towns, we need to prepare, we need to be more resilient, and one of the ways we can focus on that is diversifying our economy. And I'm not talking about getting rid of the resort economy. The resort economy butters our bread in town here. I see it being our strength for the foreseeable future, but I do think we need to find businesses that complement that resort economy and function year-round.